I think Buck is at a little bit of a sticking point in his life, looking for movement, and now obviously Theo has been orphaned, which is obviously a terrible thing. And I think Buck looks around him and sees all of his friends and his family with kids and feels at a place in his life emotionally where he can show up for somebody in that sense. And obviously there's not a usual connection between the two. It's not what you would usually encounter, but there is some kind of bond there or tie. And as we move forward into the next season, I'm sure we'll learn more about extended family and why Buck is the one that is able and necessary to maybe step up in this situation. But yeah, I think they're both in need, and Buck can really be there, and I think we'll learn a lot about himself through Theo. So I think it after such a horrendous thing happening is in everybody's best interest for now, and maybe we'll find out why as we go on to season 10. I don't know. Time works weird on 911. You're never quite sure if it's been a week or a month or 6 months. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know when the moment is. I don't think it's in episode 17. There's a moment where he says to Theo, I'd love to check in on you. I don't think he's thinking in that moment anything other than check in on. Originally, I think there was talk of why in 18 Theo wasn't finding a home, but that didn't necessarily make it to screen or even I think to script. So I don't know when the exact moment would have been, but it's a roundabout accumulation of everything maybe that happens in the finale and the need for security for all. Strict. No. I think he will be a father that lets Theo, and also I'm reluctant at it. I don't know if it's father as much as it is, foster parent. I don't know what the situation will be moving forward. But I think he'll be a guiding hand, but I like to think it will be a parent that would let a child make mistakes and maybe talk about why this or that was wrong. Not a parent who is overly controlling, but is there to guide and support.
So if his friends hadn't returned to his life and then died, do you think having kids or the topic of kids would have been something as part of his journey necessarily in the near future?
I don't know about near future, but I definitely think in his future. Obviously he has been a part of Christopher growing up, and I think that's obviously a relationship that is near and dear to Buck. So I think it's been within him, and there was no doubt that at some point it would come out, and then circumstances have led to it maybe being a little sooner than expected.
So Buck's been through a lot lately, and we see that he, like everyone, is still mourning Bobby. Fortunately, they didn't lose anyone else in this finale, but Athena was on the operating table. Eddie was bleeding out in the elevator for most of the episode. No one knew about that. How would Buck have handled it if either of them had died, on top of everything else?
I think not well. Bobby was such a huge loss, and obviously the ramifications of that have been felt throughout the whole season. And I think adding to that would have just compounded that feeling and driven him into not a good place. But thankfully, everybody came through this time. Personally, if I was, what's his name? Anatoly, the one that stabbed Eddie, I would have given him a couple more. He just gave him one little stab and walked away. It's pretty brave. I thought you would have given him some. But whatever, I'm glad he didn't.
So this last stretch of episodes was a tough one for Buck, starting with his and Eddie's road trip from Nashville going terribly wrong. Before, you told me it was dark, and it certainly was. Just talk about filming that episode.
It was, you're right when you say dark, but that means for me, really fun. It was nice to get to really dive into something like that. And, we almost felt like we were making a different show for an episode there. We were on location, and the pacing is very different. Obviously the locations are different, and it was just, it felt nice to stretch what the show can be. And so yeah, I found it a really fulfilling experience, and the director of that episode is an old childhood friend of Tim Minear, who writes our show, so they had such a great connection coming into it, and it just really felt like a labor of love, I think, for everybody involved. Everybody was really excited to get to do this thing that felt so different for 911, and I think it luckily really came together well. Yeah, we are what we are, right? And Buck, since he was a child, that's been instilled in him, that not that that's a good thing, but that he was born to help other people, and he's taken that negative reason for being born. He was, I think we put it in the show that he was born for parts. We've taken that and turned it into a positive thing for him, right? That he's channeled that into helping people, and hopefully not at his own demise or at cost to himself. But that was a moment where it did show up, and I think that just speaks to the respect and love and care that he has for Eddie in the 118.
That road trip then led to Buck's dependence on painkillers. What was important for you to showcase there, and how much did it mean to Buck to have everyone show up for him like they did? Because that was such a great sequence.
I think the most important aspect of that storyline for me, and speaking to Tim, who was really invested in that and really wanted to, I think, portray this aspect, that dependency is something that can happen really fast, but also that if you get ahead of it, you can come out of it really fast too. I think we say in the episode that within 5 weeks you can develop a dependency, but that something like, I don't want to say this because maybe I'm wrong, but I think it's like 5 days off, and you have withdrawals that you can come out of it again. So yeah, I know it was important for Tim to showcase how quickly it can start, but if you handle it correctly and if you reach out to people for help, how quickly you can get to the end of it as well. And then I think, yeah, having the 118 and others show up for Buck in the way that they did is just encapsulates everything that the show is. I think it really embodies the spirit of found family, and to me that was like quintessential 911. Yeah, Buck is enjoying it and Oliver's enjoying it. I think, when we saw Buck start out of the 118, he was rebellious, he was a little too gung-ho, he was leaping before he looked, and obviously he cares for Harry. I think there's a brotherly relationship, with the Bobby tie there, and so I think he feels like he's obligated, like there's a sense of duty to look out for him, but also I think it's something that he wants to do. I think he loves and cares for Harry irrespective of that tie, and wants to use the experience that he's gained over the years, and it's nice. It's funny, I didn't realize that I would enjoy it so much. Elijah who plays Harry, likes to make fun of my age compared to him, and I used to think I wouldn't like that, he's making me feel old, but actually I don't mind it at all. I really enjoy stepping into that, and as Buck does for Harry, Oliver to Elijah, I love being there as a sense of oh yeah, I've been through this is how I handled it, or whatever it is, and I think that's very much a relationship that is mirroring real life, and something that I'm really proud of in the show. I don't think it will be a priority. Obviously there's a priority that is placed now on his plate. I think the end of season 9 is quite not safe and certainly not happy, right? Because Theo has been orphaned, but there's an uplifting feeling of I'm going to take care of you. And I think as we move into season 10, actually we'll see the difficulties of, is he trying to the foster system and all these things, and the difficulties, and will he have to fight for him, or why is nobody else fostering him, whereas his extended family? And I think we'll really get to delve into all of that, and I think that will be a difficult journey. And then hopefully as we move through that, Buck leaning on those around him. Obviously Eddie has been a single dad, and so his friends and that have similar experiences will really, be vital to Buck navigating this.
You said, because you're saying fostering, so is he looking at this as a permanent thing, or is he still not sure about that?
I don't know. Well, yeah, I think it is. it's not really specified, but it's certainly not adoption, right? Not at this point. So yeah, I think he is a foster. I don't think Buck is, at the end of season 9, thinking, I now have a child. I think he thinks, this was my friend's child who is now parentless, and, you know, as I say, will learn why no one else has stepped up for him, and so he needs someone. I don't think Buck is going, okay, now I'm a dad, and I don't know if that's what it will turn into, but as I say, I think it will be important to show the difficulties involved with that process. I'm really looking forward to seeing May's journey as she kind of moves into being a nurse. Obviously, at the end of 9, we see her stepping into nursing school, and I think it will be really fun to see her brought into the kind of first responder mix. You know, most of the characters are pretty tied to the job, and so I think bringing her character into that world is going to be really interesting for the show, and I'm really excited for Corinne.